Hi, this is Laura Wilkinson, transformation life coach and holistic practitioner at thewilkinsoneffect.com. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about stress, what it is, how we experience that in our mind and our bodies, and what we can really do to prepare ourselves for during times of stress, because everybody feels stress at one time or another. So let's dive right in and get going. So stress is usually a pressure or a tension that we feel either from within ourselves, and this goes for people who are really seeking a lot of control in their life, or feeling that feeling of perfection and that everything has to be just perfect in order for them to do it. So that's like internal kind of stress, but really more of the focus of this particular video is the external stresses that we feel, and that comes from things like environmental stresses from job, home life, pressure from school, big changes that happen suddenly, like loss of a job, loss of somebody that you care about in your life, suddenly having to move, things like that. So what I really want to talk about is how we experience those kinds of stresses and take them internally into our body. After a period of time, it becomes really hard for people to process if they don't go through a process. So it's really important for everyone to understand that most people aren't prepared for stress. They don't have a plan of action, and they just kind of take it moment to moment, and a lot of times that means that you fumble, and that's a really bad plan. We don't want to just stumble around in our stress and try to figure things out as we go along. It's much more effective to know yourself, know what kind of stress management works for you, and what kind of stress management tools you can use in certain situations. So, for instance, if you don't have a lot of money, you're not going to be seeking out a lot of spa therapy because it just doesn't make sense, especially if money is one of your big stressors. So it's really important to understand where to find that support for yourself during times of stress, and different things that you can do to help you work and manage your stress. Some stresses can be good, because if it's a temporary stress, the point of stress is to move you. So stress can be a really great thing in helping you to motivate yourself if you allow it to. And one of the things that is a problem is that people don't always see that aspect. They don't see that perspective of how stress can be good and how they can utilize that, all of that energy of stress, because it really is just a really big ball of energy that comes at you, and they don't understand how to move it from that time of stress and move it into being out of that stress and making the change that stress is telling them to change, because stress can put you in that state of fight or flight, meaning that you either have to fight your way through it or you have to run and get the heck out of there. And too often people get stuck in that stress and they don't know how to use it to move forward. So we're going to talk about the different ways that you can move yourself forward through stress. Really important points for us to understand is that there are times to consider your stresses and to sit down and actually work through your problems, work through your stressors, and figure out what to do about it. And then there are times when you need to take a break. You cannot be moving forward all of the time in your stress. You need to be able to pull out of it and take a break, because if you're stuck in that energy of stress all of the time, it becomes a chronic stress, and that can really start to break you down physically, mentally, and spiritually. And you don't want that to happen, because it can lead to life depletion, as I call it a lot, where you're just feeling exhausted and drained from life. So that's where you don't want to go. So it's really important to understand how to move through stress with as much function and capabilities as you can, and that means that you need to be surrounding yourself by the right kind of people, not just anybody. And this is something that a lot of people make a mistake in, calling up the wrong people for support and not really understanding that everybody has something special about them. Everybody has something that makes them unique, something that makes them different than everybody else, and that's not a bad thing. but we need to be able to recognize what those person's gifts are. So if you go calling your friend and her gift is of listening and you're calling her seeking advice, that's probably not the best person to be calling for that, and it can bring a lot of extra frustration when you're already feeling stressed out, and you don't want to be damaging your relationships or bringing on any more stress than you are already going through. So it's really important to be able to identify the 5 types of different people that you really want in your life when you're going through transformation. And if you have not yet grabbed that free PDF download, it's a mini workbook that can help you identify the different 5 people that you need in your life when you're going through a big transformation in your life, and that includes when you're going through stress. And another thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you have also, in case that you have got it separately, you want to make sure that you've grabbed the checklist of stress management tools, because this is a really great way for you to identify what works for you specifically, because what works for somebody else might not work for another person. Maybe you're not a reader, maybe you're a writer, maybe you don't like to go swimming, you prefer to work out in other ways. So this is a pretty extensive list. I think there's around like 55 different things on there to help you with stress management and different kinds of therapies that you can also identify with and use. So make sure that you've grabbed that so that you can be prepared. This is about making a plan of action, making sure that you're surrounded by the right people, making sure that you've identified things that help you to de-stress, decompress, because you really want to learn how to take off the pressure, how to let go of some of that tension some of the time when you're not moving towards the resolution. Sometimes that's out of your hands, sometimes that, of course, is something that will come eventually. Like when you're moving, eventually you're going to move out and you won't have that stress of, buying a new house and those types of stresses. There are ends to those. So that's something that you really want to consider, just where that stress is going, if there is an end to that stress, and making a plan of how you're going to move through that stress so that you're not causing extra wear and tear on your body and on your mind, so that you can make sure that you have your head on straight and you're building and saving as much energy for yourself as possible. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Make sure that you get those free downloads. It's completely free, no obligations there, and I'm going to be releasing another video to talk more about stress, and I hope to see you there. Thanks. Bye.